Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd, Kingology, the ongoing adventures, stories of Stephen King in chronological order. This one's number 4, Rage. Now, this book's got quite a history. It's quite a controversial history. It's hard to get hold of now. You can buy quite old second-hand copies, but they're very expensive. It was part... When he first wrote this, it was under the Bachman name, and it was collected in the Bachman books, but now I believe it's been excised from those. So while you can get, The Long Walk and The Running Man, and I think Roadwork's the other one, you can't get Road. It's quite hard to get hold of. I've got an original copy. I've read this story several times, but it's just hard to get hold of. And the reason it's hard to get hold of is it was redrawn by Stephen King. The story is about a teenage gunman who takes his class hostage, nominally. But let me quote Stephen King directly about it and his reasons for withdrawing it. I've written a lot of books about teenagers who are pushed to violent acts, but with Rage it's almost a blueprint in terms of saying this is how it could be done. And when it started to happen, particularly there was a shooting in Paducah, Kansas, where 3 kids were killed in a prayer group, and the kid who did it, that book was in his locker. You can kind of understand why. And reading the book, it's kind of clear why. One of the things about the book is the teenager that precipitating his act is kind of charismatic. His classmates don't blame him and kind of understand why he's doing it, and kind of become locked into his own neurosis, psychosis, if you like, about it, his own illness about it. Which is sort of confirming his behaviour. Now, you can kind of understand troubled teenagers reading this and feeling it's about them, and because it reinforces what they might be thinking about it. It's kind of problematic. I can completely understand why it's withdrawn. However, it is a good book, and it is a shame. Now, usually I'm not one for advocating, censorship because you blame, I don't know. We've had a lot. We've had video nasties as the cause of violence. We've got video games going on at a minute. We've had EC comics in the past. I'm not an advocate of banning things because of those reasons, but I think this specific book does speak out, could easily speak out to a troubled mind and confirm that what it thinks is right to it. So I completely understand why he's withdrawn it. I think if I was in the same position, I would have done the same. And there's been a number of shootings like this. The one I just referred to, but other shootings. Where, a copy of Rage was found in a locker or thought to be. It kind of makes sense. Let's get to the book itself. It's a gripping and quite a ferocious story. It conforms to the very best of what King does when he's working, which is it feels pure and authentic in terms of the thought process of the people in it. I don't think it's entirely that way with Rage. I do have problems with the end section, and I'm going to get into spoilers from now on, where the classmates take it upon themselves to sort of attack the one member of the class that's kind of holding out from being part of their mass belief system. Ted. I don't feel, to me, that doesn't ring true at all. I just didn't feel it, and I read through it twice to try and think, have I missed something here? But it just didn't feel, that bit didn't feel true to me at all. And I don't quite even understand it. So to me, it just doesn't ring true. It may be to another reader, it does not to me. But however, the rest of the book definitely does feel like that. In fact, this book, I think, would make a quite rather excellent play. It's set in one location. There's a lot of talking and revealing secrets and sort of revealing truths about themselves. And I don't mean in the sort of dunderheaded, flat-footed sense of, they tell a story about themselves and it's true. I mean, they're revealing parts of their character and their nature and understanding themselves better by revealing themselves, is what I mean. King has this power to convey moods and feelings through the words that just feel genuine, and it really works. And even when the characters say something you just know a high school girl or boy really wouldn't say, it just feels authentic. It's just something about the way he's got a bit of magic there. It's quite amazing. He's almost transcendent. He just, by giving them words they wouldn't actually say, he reveals the truth, which I guess is great writing. He just can plug into the main line of human existence, I think, when he's at his best. Like I say, I completely understand why he pulled it from the shelves. I think this one will make a great play. I feel it's a shame it's been pulled from the shelves, but I understand it. I do think this is a book that is worth studying, talking about, and would, to less troubled teenagers, would actually produce a very interesting discussion and thinking. However, you've got to balance these things, really. And like I say, I'm not one for censoring, because I like to point things and blame sort of art as the cause of things. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but I think in this particular case, King made a good decision doing that. It's also quite amazing how this book's become like a precognition of how things have turned out. This was written before any of these things happened. Well, there's the odd shootings and stuff like that, snipers and stuff. But it's kind of weird how things keep reflecting this book over and over. So I think in this book it kind of reveals something about that horrible state of mind that some teenagers can get into. That it's a complex thing. It's not a simple thing. It's not like madness necessarily. It is madness, but it isn't a plain, oh look, this biochemical interrupt things cause this. There's a complexity of thought and confusion of thought that underlies this kind of act, and that gets conveyed in this book. It's really, I feel, is a too good a book to be lost, and I think it's one worthy of dissection and analysis, and possibly for more adult, older individuals. It's difficult. It's a difficult subject. This, and maybe it's something if and when this kind of thing stops, or guns get outlawed in America, if that ever happens. I can't see it, but if it ever happens, maybe at that point it can be reintroduced. I'm almost certain it'll be reintroduced when King's died and he loses some of the power to stop it being published. I'm sure someone will end up publishing it. Which I'd like to see his wishes honoured, but as I say, it feels like too good a book to be lost to me. Really enjoyed this one. This is a fairly short podcast because I've got loads of material, like I have with things like The Stand and Salem's Lot. But this one I give a 9 out of 10. I thought this was a great piece of writing. Apparently, it's also his first real written novel, not published, but first one he actually wrote and finished. He'd finished this before he had written Carrie, say. I understand. So that's an interesting thing. It rings true. It rings true. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so that's Rage. Next time I'll be covering Night Shift. Now with Night Shift, there's 20 odd stories. A couple of which I've already discussed under the Salem's Lot thing, but I will revisit. So there's 2 stories in it that sort of pertain to Salem's Lot, and like I say, I've already discussed those. So I'll be going through those stories, but I'll also be picking out some of the major films that were generated by these stories. I think that's worth doing. Maximum Overdrive, I think, was one of them, for example. I could be wrong there, but I think it is. I can't remember. It's been a long time. I have read Night Shift before, but it's been a long, long time. So I'll not only be covering, I think there's 20 stories in this book. I'll be discussing some of the movies next time, so there'll be plenty more material next time. And for those of you that want to try and read along and are interested but can't be bothered to check the chronology, the one after this will be The Stand, and I think I'll be covering the extended version with that. I think I'll go to that trouble. So next time it'll be night shift. Bye from me.